Today, my dear friends, I have a very exciting video for you. Ahsoka is 20 days away, and if you saw my news update yesterday, then you know that Anakin Skywalker is all but confirmed, and I want to talk about that in a little more depth. A new theory states that the trailers have already hinted how Baylan survived Order 66. We know he knew Anakin, but that's not actually relevant here. Instead, it's something that Shin, Baylan's apprentice, is wearing. She has the same headset as Anakin from episode 3 in one of the trailers in her ship. And while these were common, some fans think it's a long shot that it's a hint at how Baylan survived. During Order 66, there were a variety of ways that Jedi died. It was either by their clone commanders, or by Lord Vader himself if you were in the unfortunate position of being at the Jedi Temple that night. But the headset of Shin could suggest that Baylan was piloting a ship when Order 66 was activated. And after surviving his crash, he kept the headset and years later gave it to Shin, and now she uses it. It's been a long time since Order 66, but this little hint of what he still has and what he's given to his apprentice could tell us more about his backstory than we think. As I say, it's been a long time, and the fact he still has this remnant of the Republic, which Shin now uses, is very significant. I'm telling you, there is more to this. In the same way that Plo Koon was shot at by clones in the air while he was in his ship, it could be that Baylan was in the same position, but escaped. The crash didn't kill him, and so he kept his headset. It's a long shot, but if you're like me and you like to analyze different theories and very specific items in trailers that could give away some hints, I think this is a big one. What do you think? Let me know down below. And so now, Timothy Olyphant has addressed the question of whether we're going to see Cobb Vanth in Dave Filoni's movie, whenever that's going to happen, and here's what he said. Honestly, I can tell you I've been very lucky with those guys. I've only done 2 episodes, and to have only done those 2 episodes and feel like you're a big part of this world, I'm getting away with something here. I did 2 episodes and I've got like 4 toys out there, it's ridiculous. I don't care if it's a big giant thing or just to show up for an afternoon, it's a fun gig. So he doesn't address the question directly. He's just grateful if he does get a call up. I think there's a very strong chance it is going to happen. If you remember, there were rumors by Making Star Wars saying that they were thinking of Timothy Olyphant to take over from Cara Dune if Rangers of the New Republic ever was developed, but they've now incorporated that into Mando, probably the Ahsoka show as well, and it's not going to be Cobb Vanth at the forefront anymore. But if they ever did plan to put Cobb Vanth front and center, there are probably more plans for him in Mando Season 4 or Dave Filoni's Star Wars film, or should I say films, plural. At the moment, we're in a very uncertain time for the future of Star Wars. We don't know what's going on beyond the upcoming shows that are already done, ready for release, which in the current case is Ahsoka, The Acolyte, and Skeleton Crew. And just a disclaimer guys, I'm not talking about animated shows. I'm not talking about The Bad Batch Season 3, Tales of the Jedi Season 2, Young Jedi Adventures. For this new segment, I'm just focusing on live action. Other than that, given the strikes, we don't know what's on the table. We don't know when Andor Season 2 is going to resume production. We no longer have a clear idea about what Disney is willing to do going forward, because Bob Iger recently said they're going to revamp budgets and really revamp the company in terms of their biggest IPs, Marvel, Star Wars. Things are going to change. Gone are the days of big budgeted TV shows, or at least spin-offs that do not make them money. Now, I came across a question, which I've seen time and time again, and we've answered this together. In the community tab, I've covered it in videos. Which Star Wars character would you like to see get their own spin-off movie or TV series? Well, to be honest, after Ahsoka, that might be the last spin-off based on one character for a very long time. Unless it's something they're sure is going to be profitable, I don't see them doing more new TV shows based on individual characters. Of course, the 2nd season of Andor will eventually release, but beyond that, beyond Ahsoka, beyond Boba Fett and Kenobi, are we ever going to see a TV show or movie based on one character? It's kind of looking doubtful, especially with the recent rumor that The Mandalorian Season 4 might be a movie. But in terms of characters getting their own spin-off, based on Bob Iger's damning words, I don't think it's going to happen. I know there was talk a while back that Kathleen Kennedy wanted to explore a Yoda movie, and if they ever do that, it's of course probably going to take place during the High Republic. But listen, the answers are endless. Every Star Wars fan is going to have their own answer to this. I've seen fans say they want a Cody series, some say a Darth Vader series based on the comics, some have said a Maul show, a Qui-Gon show, a Mace Windu show, but at the moment, I just don't see that happening. And I'm really not trying to be a downer, I'm just trying to be realistic here. The franchise is in a very odd and uncertain position right now. The future of different projects is on hold. If I had to put money on any show coming out that was based on one character, and again I should reiterate aside from the ones already confirmed, I would say a Bo-Katan show. Again, something else that was rumoured for quite a long time. But they might be in the process of restructuring how they're going to do things going forward, how to keep things profitable, how to draw back in fans who feel a bit apathetic towards Star Wars at the moment, and hopefully with stricter budgets and where that money is spent, reprioritising where that money goes, we're going to see some more high quality Star Wars content. It might not be as frequent as in recent years, but I think a lot of us want quality movies and TV series that are done right. And even the other day, when it came out that The Acolyte has nearly $50 million of a budget in pre-production, fans were up in arms saying, where was this money for the Kenobi show? So I think in many ways fans feel as though they need to go back to the drawing board. And I will reiterate, this is not me criticising or making commentary on certain shows and their quality, it's simply an observation based on what's going on right now, as studios realise they're not drawing in as many numbers as they once did, and this is not just limited to Lucasfilm, they are more vocal about the fact that something needs to change. And so now, my dear friends, let's talk about something a bit more positive, something which I've seen going round. Is Galen Erso the J. Robert Oppenheimer of the Star Wars universe? I've seen this question quite a lot considering the recent Barbenheimer phenomenon, two films which are really considered some of the best of 2023, and the question is Galen Erso, in some ways, the Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, of Star Wars? The answer is yes and no, because Mads Mikkelsen, who plays Galen, even confirmed Oppenheimer was an influence on the character, on the way he was conceptualized for Rogue One. Both Oppenheimer and Galen Erso were recruited respectively to develop destructive weapons, but Galen was forced to work on the Death Star against his will. And there are some other differences too. J. Robert Oppenheimer has widely been considered by historians to be one of the most important people in the last century. Christopher Nolan's 2023 film by the same name chronicled the life of Oppenheimer, the famous theoretical physicist, exploring how his creation changed his life and the entire world. While Oppenheimer's story has now been told in a modern big-budget film, one of my absolute favourites of the last decade I might add, he's served as the inspiration for many characters in pop culture, and one of them was Galen. While developing Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, Lucasfilm drew heavily from the history of World War II, particularly the Manhattan Project. Scientist Galen Erso, played by Mads Mikkelsen, was thrust into the Oppenheimer archetype, with the Death Star serving as the Star Wars equivalent of the atomic bomb. But exactly how similar was the fictional Galen Erso to the real-life J. Robert Oppenheimer? Well, as I said, there were a few differences. Galen, on the other hand, did not immediately work on the Death Star project on his own volition. Galen never believed in the Death Star project and knew the superweapon would be used for nefarious purposes. When the Empire arrived at his doorstep, he refused to work on the Death Star and told Orson Krennic he was confusing peace with horrific effects that could be caused. The Empire killed Galen's wife and caused him to be separated from his daughter Jyn, but he ultimately agreed to work on the Death Star, knowing he would be able to implement a fatal flaw in the Death Star's design, one which later in A New Hope, Luke would exploit, leading to the victory of Yavin, even though Galen would never live to see it. But another key difference is the fact that Oppenheimer felt he had blood on his hands. There's much debate over whether Oppenheimer had regrets building the first atomic bomb. He never issued a public apology, but was interpreted by Chris Nolan in the film as someone truly possessed by guilt, possessed by a desire to undo what had happened. Whereas Galen Erso distanced himself from the use of his creation more than Oppenheimer ever did. Galen realized if he refused to work, Krennic would eventually have realized he was not needed for the project. The Death Star was going to come about with or without him, and we see the start of this in Andor Season 1. So Galen did not see himself as the destroyer of worlds, but rather a rebel who allowed the destroyer of worlds to be destroyed, implementing a crucial flaw. A similarity, though, is that both the Death Star and the atomic bomb were used on civilians. Another key difference is that Oppenheimer was a public figure. Galen wasn't. The Empire didn't care for its workers or those who were cogs in the machine. Oppenheimer got all the fame. And another massive similarity is both the Death Star and the atomic bomb changed the worlds they existed in forever. The Death Star was a planet-destroying battle station, but the Empire continued innovating beyond it, building the significantly more powerful Death Star 2. And in a similar way, Oppenheimer's research and what he created would just be the genesis of future similar weapons. But I have seen some fans put out something very important. Galen Erso was the Heisenberg of the Star Wars universe, because it was believed Heisenberg deliberately sabotaged his research on the same project. In other Star Wars news, yesterday the new batch of Young Jedi Adventures released on Disney+. This show has seen more success than Disney and Lucasfilm ever thought it would. The new toys are flying off shelves, the viewership is up, and you can understand why Lucasfilm is trying to get a slice of the pie of young audience-based shows. Paw Patrol, Cocomelon, Bluey, these do phenomenally well, so to have a Star Wars show that's aimed at the same kind of age group makes a lot of sense from a business perspective. But I've seen families and adults like this just as much. There's a lot of talk about it on social media, there's a lot of hype for it, and I've got to say the new batch of episodes are really wholesome. Nubs takes to botany, Nash's Jedi friends help her reunite her favourite band, there's an episode where they have to transport a young princess, some missions go bad, and along the way, they're learning some key skills, not just how to be a Jedi, but how to have hope and how to be good people, messages that are central to Star Wars right from the start. But share your thoughts on this and everything we spoke about in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, my dear friends, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.